I'm an author of mild success. I'm not incredibly popular, but my books sell enough. About 3 months ago, someone from my old high school reached out to see if a student could interview me. I responded that my time at the school wasn't the happiest, but I would give the student responses relating to my career. We had a great chat. She started asking questions about my time at the school, but I redirected. She caught on to what I was doing and asked, "I'm sensing that you're hesitant to talk about your time at school. Is that true?" I said, "Let's focus on the story," and she was like, "Actually, this could be a better story." So I said, "You know what, sure. Whatever. I don't owe the school anything, I'm not being paid, and even though it's been a long time and I've grown from what happened, it's still worth talking about." I mentioned a few names in specific and how I'd tried to ask for help and was blown off by everyone. Teachers at my school very strongly favored the girls in sports teams and would often be buddy with them and their parents. I mentioned a teacher who openly mocked the way I dressed, my lack of athleticism, etc. I brought up the time that a group of girls followed me around the school mooing at me, and when I broke down crying because they wouldn't stop and tried to tell a teacher, the teacher called me Mooly for the rest of the year, and when I yelled my name as Molly, she had me suspended for a week. She ended up publishing the whole interview. Nothing exactly went viral, but there were posts on Facebook with a ton of comments, and it caused some commotion in that community. A few weeks later, I was contacted by a school official who chastised me for bringing up old wounds and trying to paint veteran teachers as bad people when they were going through difficult times already. The teacher responsible for the Mooly incident had a local lifetime teaching award taken away from her after it all came out, so was it really worth it, and maybe did I remember things wrong? Finally, a handful of my old classmates, many of them stuck around town, found me, and I was barraged with a ton of messages telling me that I'm ruining the reputation of the school and of several prominent community members. It was X years ago, so why can't I just get over it, etc. Some of them obviously haven't changed. It was a long time ago, yes. I don't know how I really feel about how this all went down though. I know times are tough for teachers right now. I didn't set out to hurt anyone, I was just telling my truth. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Caring about a school's reputation more than you care about the students, and it leads to a cover-up of abuses. It's the reason that just about every private preparatory academy has major abuse scandals in their past. It's the same mentality that caused the Boy Scouts and the Catholic Church to cover up their scandals. As bad as you had it, I wouldn't doubt for a second some poor soul at your school had even worse circumstances and was pressured to keep quiet with these exact same tactics. Not the idiot. I come from a family of teachers that know the difference between right and wrong and strive to teach those basics to children that have been entrusted in their care. You told the truth, which is always something taught as a good thing, and what comes from the truth are consequences for one's own actions. You had no choice as a child on the situation, and yet they think you should get over it so they can get away with what they know was wrong. Part of getting over trauma is talking about it, so you keep telling everyone your truth and getting over it. Not the idiot. Look, you didn't go into the interview planning on talking about this. The student pushed you for that story, and you told the truth. Telling the truth to someone who asks for it never makes you an idiot. You have no obligation to hide what happened to you, and it is worth talking about. Clearly, the school hasn't changed since they decided to continue bullying you over this. Maybe your story can be the kick in the butt the school needs to actually get a little better. Recently, my sister and I signed up for the same spinning class. It's been years since I've done any kind of physical activity with her. She started gaining weight a few years ago and never really stopped. She claims she's exercising every day and eating right, but has no idea why she's gaining still. So it's Wednesday night and we're leaving class for dinner. She says she's extra hungry since she skipped lunch. So we go to McDonald's. Yeah, kind of counterintuitive, but I was like, whatever, a small burger won't kill you. We decide to drive through and eat at hers. She places her orders and I'm not really paying attention. Then while I'm driving, she starts eating this big chicken burger. I just thought, oh, she's hungry, guess she'll only have fries later. With the burgers, I know she eats fast food frequently because she hates cooking, but she's always told me she goes for the really light options. Well, we get home and to my surprise she takes out another whole meal, like a Big Mac and everything. I ask her about the chicken burger and she goes, oh, I just wanted something for the road. I was like, are you serious? That was a 10-minute drive, do you normally get 2 burgers? She gets mad at me and tells me everyone has road food, which is like an extra portion to eat on the road. She said it like it's some kind of rule when you get fast food. I was pretty blunt, I admit, and said this is insane, road food is why you're not losing weight then. No one needs road food. Am I the idiot for telling her all this? Honestly, I was in shock, and I've never heard of road food. She got really mad and said this is totally normal, everyone does it. I'm kind of in shock. I'm frustrated because she came to me for support first, and I've been taking this seriously. I'm even paying for her gym membership, unused until now, since her husband is such an idiot about expenses. I'm just angry she's been sabotaging herself this entire time. Am I the idiot for kind of freaking out at her? Not the idiot. Sometimes the truth hurts, and sometimes that hurt is necessary. You can spin till your legs fall off, but if you don't change your eating habits, all you'll be doing is spinning tires stuck in place. Also, I've never even heard of someone ordering food for the specific intention of eating on the way home, where they'll eat the dinner they ordered. That whole idea is kind of shocking, and your reaction was fitting. You're the idiot. Sounds like she is in some serious denial about why she's gaining weight. But there's no need to be rude and judgmental to your sister. Having her family be judgmental to her is only going to make her feel worse and probably eat more and make it harder for her to deal with her weight. The best thing would be to keep encouraging her to be active, nicely, and in a way that makes her feel like you want to spend time with her rather than you're badgering her. She's going to have to come to terms with her bad habits on her own, no one else can do it for her. Not the idiot. You were harsh, sure, but her eating habits are honestly grotesque. It doesn't even sound like she got a second burger as some kind of rare treat, road burgers are the norm for her. I mean, the kind of logic that leads people to getting road food is truly problematic. Maybe you could approach her again in a nicer way, but I'd definitely say something about it. It's also likely when she's counting calories, she's not counting all this road food. I got my first job out of college at a relatively small, privately owned business in my field. I had interviewed at larger companies, but I liked the smaller company feel, and I thought it would be a great opportunity to get experience in a lot of different areas so that I could advance my career or even step into a larger role at the company sooner than I could at a larger one. The current owner of the company had purchased it from the founder a couple of years before I arrived, so he inherited a lot of the clients and contracts that the original owner had acquired. The owner didn't believe in annual employee reviews and always said that if anyone had an issue to just talk with him whenever. So after I had been there for about 18 months, I called a meeting with him and asked for a raise. He told me he would think about it and get back to me. He called me into his office a couple of days later and said he ran some numbers and that he could only afford to offer me a token raise and some extra vacation time with a promise that we would reevaluate things in a year. He told me that it was just business, no hard feelings. This was frustrating to me because I had already been heading many of our more lucrative contracts and projects, and I knew we were bringing in a lot of revenue that was directly related to my work. About 6 months later, one of our clients that had been with the company since the previous owner and that I had been working closely with since I started, approached me about taking a position with them that would be a huge jump up for me professionally. I thought about it for maybe a week and decided to take it. I put in my 2-week notice and my boss was furious. He called me ungrateful and that I was leaving them high and dry. With 1 week left, he told me not to bother coming back into the office for the final week, even though I was in the middle of helping people transition into my projects. At my new job, one of my first tasks was evaluating the contract that my previous job had. I asked my new boss if this was any kind of conflict of interest, but he said I wasn't the only one working on it and he wanted my opinion. So I tried to be as diligent as I could and found that there were better and more affordable options for us than my previous job. The other people evaluating the contract found the same thing, so the higher-ups decided not to renew the contract with my previous boss. When he found out about it, my old boss reached out to me and called me a traitor and accused me of purposely telling my new boss to end the contract out of spite against him. I told him I don't appreciate being accused of such things and that it was just business, no hard feelings. A former coworker reached out to me shortly after and said that with the lost revenue from the contract, it's possible the company may need to lay people off or close altogether. He said my old boss fully blames me for it. I feel like I was just doing my job and did nothing wrong. Not the idiot. Please don't be guilted by this. I've worked for a small private company as well, led a massive project which was also one of the most profitable, and didn't see a dime in bonus. Left the company right after. Small companies always have the same excuses, not making enough money, limited contracts, etc. But then they pull up in the most expensive cars, take the most expensive trips, etc. They forget that it's the team that holds the company afloat. You did the right thing. If losing this one contract was enough that your old company might have to start laying off people, then your old boss might have been right about there not being enough money to give you more than a token raise. But why the business was in that position has nothing to do with you. Employees don't owe anything to their employers. For all you know, the company has no money because the boss was paying himself an exorbitant salary. Not the idiot. If you had lied to your new job to keep the old boss's business, you should have been fired from your new job. You were doing what you're paid to do. Be careful, though, be very judicious about burning a professional bridge. You never know when you might need something from a friend of his. And on that subject, it sounds like he is slandering you. I don't think you want money from him, but you might consider contacting an attorney to make him stop slandering you and retract his statements about you. So this guy, Sean, and I have a complex history, but the important part of that history is that Sean got me and another woman, Lydia, pregnant at roughly the same time. Our sons are only about 6 weeks apart in age. Lydia's son is currently just over 15 months, while mine is just under 17 months. Lydia and I have identical custody agreements. We both had sole custody for the entire first year, with Sean only having visitation, and when both boys were a year old, it became half of custody. Both myself and Lydia have our sons for the odd weeks, while Sean gets the even weeks. This means Sean has both boys at the same time. He pushed for this, as he wanted a week off from looking after kids. He also requested this, so his sons could bond, but his primary motive was getting time off. Sean had both boys this last week. He brought my son back earlier today. I was on a work call and the baby was sleeping, so Sean just sort of placed the baby, carrier and all, down on the floor and left silently. When the baby woke up and started crying, I got off the work call and immediately noticed that this was not my son, as my son has blue eyes and this baby had green eyes. Taking off the baby's hat also showed dark blonde hair and not my son's light brown hair. I immediately called Sean in full panic mode, telling him to bring me the correct child right this second. It had only been about 10 minutes, so Sean wasn't far away and hadn't gone by Lydia's yet, but Jesus Christ, it was the worst 10 minutes of my life. Sean came back smiling, carrying my son, and says in the most condescending tone of voice, "See? He's fine. No harm done." I told him that we are fixing this custody agreement. He is not having both boys alone again. He couldn't tell his own sons apart, so the solution here is for him to not be in a position to confuse them. I feel that this whole situation is already a total farce, and I should never have been in that position. I want to know that I have my child, not Lydia's. I do not feel that this is a lot to ask for. Sean has said that I'm being unreasonable. Says it's an easy mistake to make and that there were times his parents brought home the wrong baby from nursery without a half-sibling to excuse it, and that this was the first time it happened and the issue only lasted 10 minutes. He also says that I'll be causing undue harm to all three guys in the situation, as the kids won't get to bond with their half-brother and Sean won't get any time to himself if he has Lydia's son on even weeks and mine on odds, meaning that he'll be more exhausted and it will decrease his income as he won't be able to work overtime, which he currently does in his weeks without the boys. I said I'd be contacting the people who drew up our agreement to amend it, and Sean called me selfish and crazy. I am worried that I might be the idiot, as I could easily be acting irrationally, and if I am doing that, then there is a risk that the main person this will harm is my son, by affecting his relationship with his father and half-brother, which I have no intention of doing. Would I be the idiot for insisting on making the necessary changes so Sean doesn't have both boys simultaneously again? You would be the idiot. Parents make mistakes, and this mistake had no one in any danger, just a bit upsetting. Grabbing the wrong kid is not an uncommon parenting move. Folks with twins, triplets, etc. often have to come up with easy ways to ID the kids at a glance. Separating the brothers because of a mistake is cruel. If you actually think this could occur again, have an adult convo about ways to avoid it. But really, as the kids keep growing, this will be less and less of an issue, and the kids spending time together will be more and more important. You're the idiot. You're acting irrationally. I'm sure it was upsetting, but to any outsider or anyone who is not panicking, it's clearly an understandable mistake. He didn't put your child in danger. Pretty soon, both boys are going to be big enough that this kind of mistake won't happen. Changing the custody agreement will 100% harm your relationship with your son's father, and it will harm your son's relationship with both his father and his brother. You're the idiot. This guy clearly wants to be an involved dad, and honestly, I don't see what's so terrible about wanting to have a week off. Both you and the other mother have every other week off by virtue of the custody agreements. How is it selfish for him to want the same arrangement? His arguments about being exhausted and it's affecting his income are completely valid. You sound like you're just being vindictive. Parents all make harmless mistakes sometimes, and I'm certain that you will have plenty of opportunities to make similarly silly mistakes. My wife and I live in a secluded suburban neighborhood in northeast Austin. Our house is situated on a cul-de-sac that is also near a community trail that extends behind our house. The trail is small and circles a natural detention pond, but many of the neighborhood residents use. Our backyard can see everything, and we have interacted with many people walking because we are so close. So, last night at 9:15 p.m., my wife and I are playing a card game. We have been busy lately and ordered in food, watched a Killing Eve finale, and wanted to play some games. As we are playing, our doorbell rings. We both look at each other confused, and our dogs go crazy barking at the front door. My wife and I have the same thought, it's probably one of our neighbors we are close to and needed something or whatever. I walk up to the front door and peep through the hole, and am surprised to see a teenage kid. My guess is he's about 16 years old. I hesitate to say anything or open the door. I look at him again and recognize that I have seen him on the trail walking all the time with his dog, usually on his phone. Having recognized him, I open the door. Here is our conversation. Hey, what's up? My AirPods are in your house. What's that? My Apple AirPods are in your house. I don't understand what you mean. Why would your AirPods be in my house? You have never been in my house, and we have never interacted before. Can I come in and look? No, why do you think your AirPods are in my house? I lost them while walking the trail, and the AirPod says they are in your house. He shows me. Not understanding how the AirPods works, because I don't have any of my own. Look, I don't know why they are showing to be in my house, but they aren't. They are probably still on the trail somewhere. I am happy to let you look around my yard if you want, but you're not coming in my house. Aggravated now. Can I ping them and see if I hear them? Sure, go for it. He does, shockingly no sound occurs. They aren't here, dude, they must still be on the trail. So I can't come in and look? No, they aren't here. Good night. Closes door. Am I the idiot for not letting a 16-year-old teenager search my house at 9:15 at night after being accused of basically finding his AirPods and lying to him that I had them instead of returning them to their rightful owner? Not the idiot. You don't have to let him in, but I'd say check around your house if it isn't too much of a bother, just to see if they're there. And as a teen, I can say that the app is usually pretty accurate. It's kind of like a GPS, but it shows you where your AirPods are. But he seemed kind of rude when he asked you, so you don't owe him anything. The location track will stop when they run out of batteries though, and they are expensive, so if it really isn't too much to ask, I'd say just look around a bit and see if you can see anything. Not the idiot. They were probably on the trail, and the GPS botched the Lorentz transformation. Happens a lot, in a way that gives discrepancies of like a few feet. I would look around and make sure your dogs didn't grab them, just in case, of course. Walking up to someone's house at 9:15 and just saying my AirPods are in your house is rude. He needed to wait until the next day, or he needed to bring a parent, and he needed to explain the whole situation to you before just asking to come inside and asking you to look.